Hello, guys. Starting here, our lesson 6. Now, lesson 6, yellow, talking about the prepositions and adverbs of frequency. Very simple, very common to use, but important to understand some situations. Okay, so let's go. Let me show you what I have prepared here. So, okay, lesson 6, yellow, starting with the adverbs of frequency. Okay, these are the adverbs of frequency, all the adverbs that determine or indicate the frequency you do something. Okay, the frequency you execute something. We have a big number of adverbs of frequency, and a lot of people use this percentage here, okay? This is not real, okay, guys? The real is the 3 parameters we have. What are the parameters? First, always. Always is 100% of the times. For example, I always speak English in my lessons. Okay, so 100% of the times, no exceptions. All right, so always is one of the parameters. After you use sometimes, sometimes is another good parameter, another good indication. 50% of the times. I sometimes visit my parents in Sao Paulo. So sometimes, okay? Not frequently, not always, sometimes. All right, is another parameter. And the third parameter is the parameter 0. Never. So for example, I never speak Chinese in my life. 0% of the times of my life. Okay, so this is another parameter. We have 3. Always 100%, never 0%, and sometimes 50% of the times. The rest of the adverbs of frequency, we use the way we prefer here. Usually, generally, often, or frequently, okay, is less than always and more than sometimes. Equally here, occasionally, seldom, hardly ever, or rarely is less than sometimes and more than never. In this interval here, you decide what to use. What is important in adverbs of frequency? The position in the sentence. This is something very important. Okay, so here in this chart here explains my intention. The word order, this is the position. Okay, so in affirmative sentences, we have the subject, the adverb of frequency, and the verb. So he always go, she never plays, I usually drink. So this is the order, the adverb of frequency before the action verb. But when you have verb to be, the verb to be comes before the adverb of frequency. So for example, like here, you are, verb to be, always late. So the frequency adverb or adverb of frequency, no difference, comes after the verb to be. So what you need to remember, verb to be, okay, subject, verb to be, and adverb of frequency. No verb to be, normal verbs, subject, adverb of frequency, and the verb. Okay, that is the order of your sentence. And in questions, okay, if you have a question, no difference. You start with the verb to be when your sentence is with verb to be, And you start with your auxiliary verb when your question, your sentence is simple present, when you have the auxiliary verb do or does, and you use the adverb of frequency. Okay? Here's as an important note to you guys. We use never and hardly ever with positive verbs. Okay, so for example, very difficult you use the sentence like, he isn't never late. So we use he is never late. Okay, because he isn't never is like two negatives in one sentence. He isn't never. Okay, so not, it doesn't sound very good. So prefer to use he is never late. And affirmative is a positive sentence, okay, using the never. And another example, they don't hardly ever go to the library. They don't hardly ever. It's two negatives in one sentence, okay? So we don't use, we use simply, they hardly ever go to the library. Already indicates the idea of no or small possibility or low frequency. Okay, this is an advice for you, very important. Continue. So don't forget, okay, guys, this is the important thing about the structure of adverb of frequency. Normal verbs, so you have adverb of frequency and the verb. Verb to be, you have verb to be first and after the adverb of frequency. Okay? Here, more examples of that. Okay, and here are the expressions of frequency. Different from adverb of frequency, the expressions of frequency generally comes in the final of your sentence. Okay, so it tends to finish the sentence like here, for example. She visits the dentist twice a year. Here is the expression of frequency. Okay, twice a year, 3 times a week. Okay, but it's possible to use here too. I call her daily to make sure she's fine. It's possible. It's more common to use in the final, but it's not 100% obligatory. Okay? Here, very important, the frequencies. Okay? We listen, especially in music, people saying 1 time or 2 times, but these expressions doesn't really exist in English. People don't use 1 time or 2 times. So we have special structures to represent 1 time and 2 times that are once and twice. So for example, I study English once a week, 1 class a week. Or I study English twice a week, so 2 classes a week. More than 2, guys, 3, 4, 5, 10, 1 million. You use the number and the continuation times. For example, I speak English 6 times a week. I use English 7 days a week. Okay, so this is the expression of times, the number and the times I do something, you do something, some action. You are describing the frequency, you do something. And then you have the time period here too, very common. You can use a day, or 3 times a day, or daily, twice a week, or twice weekly, 3 times a month, or 3 times monthly. Okay, so you decide, these are the period expressions. You can substitute a day for daily, a week for weekly, a month for monthly, a year for yearly. Okay, these are the most common expressions of time period we have to use. And again, generally comes in the final of the sentence, but not obligatory. Okay? Continuing here, the prepositions. Oh, people suffer with prepositions, guys. Not necessary to suffer. Okay? We have prepositions in this chart here, prepositions of time and prepositions of location. In our lessons, we have one special lesson for prepositions of location, but here I wanted to show you simply that prepositions of time and location follow the same idea. What is the idea? About size, about how specific you are. So, for example, if you are talking about something very big, very generical, we are going to use in. In terms of time, for example, in the 80s, in July, in May, in April, in November, because it's very generical, very big, okay? Very not specific. So when you have something very big, very generical, you are going to use in. And the same for location. We are going to use for countries, cities, neighborhoods. Okay, so I live in United States, in South America, in Florida, in Miami. Okay, so it's very generical, very little precise. So you are given an indication, but not very specific. So in this situation, we use the preposition in for time and location. Okay? When we go for something more specific than in, we use on. So for example, you go on, my birthday is on November 5th, okay? Or on Friday, on Monday, our class is on Friday, is on Monday. All right, so you are being more specific, but not very precise. All right, is more specific than in, that is very big. On is a little more specific, but not very specific. Okay, or for example, I tell you, I live on Brazil Avenue. On Brazil Avenue is very big. So impossible to know, João lives here. No, because it's very big. Okay, you know the city, you know the direction, you know the location, but you are not specific. Imagine, João lives here, João lives here, João lives here, João lives here. Imagine one entire day. Okay, so we use for streets with not complete address, we use on. And obviously, if in very generical, on a little more specific, but not precise, at we use for precise, for precision. So for time, we use for hours, specifically. Oh, our class is at 7 p.m. at midday. So this is specific, not optional. Okay, so for time, we use at to define the date. And for addresses, for locations, for example, we use at when we have complete address. For example, here at 734 Oxford Street. So you know the number and you know the location is precise. If you put on your GPS, you arrive in the place. So yes, it is very specific. Okay, and that is the use of preposition, guys, for time or for location. In, very generical, very general, very big. On, a little more specific, and at, very specific. For example, you can say, I study English in an English school. Oh, in an English school is obvious, but there are many English schools, so not specific. Okay. I study in an English school on Thursdays. Okay, so you were more specific about the time, okay? Or on, I don't know, Marginal Tietê. Okay, very big, but it's more specific. And I study at Target at midday. Okay, so you are being specific. Or I study English at 734 Oxford Street. So it's a specific place where is your English school. So then you are being specific, then you can use at. Okay? Continuing here. Here, prepositions of location in terms of position. Okay, very important, and people sometimes confuse. When we have in, the relation is this, guys. We have something in something, like I am in my room. My room is closed. I am in my room. Okay? Or when you put your money in your pocket. Or here, for example, my document is in my cell phone protection. So here is inside. Okay, so this relation is in. In the same idea, on is when you have a surface and something on it. The classical sentence, the book is on the table. So on representing the contact. Another good example, the street. The car is on the street. The man is on the farm, on the beach, because here's the beach, here's the man, contact. Here's the street, here's the man, contact. Here's the farm, here's the man, contact. So on is this relation of contact. Okay? And at, again, for everything is specific. I study English at Target. I had dinner at McDonald's. I work out, exercise at Biorritmo. Okay? So you are being precise. And then you are using at. Okay? Here, more examples of prepositions in on at. Okay? The situations we use the most. Note that at is every time a special date, a time, a period of the day, or an hour. Okay. The days of the week we use on. Okay. And in we use for decades, centuries. Okay. And for location, for city, states, country, continents. All right. Here in, so in geographical idea, because it's very big, very generic, or in enclosed spaces, like this example here, the relation of inside. At, when we have a specific location or addresses, that is a specific location. And on, when we have a transportation or surfaces, this idea of contact that I gave it to you. And this is it, guys. Now you need to study, to practice, to exercise, to remember the specificity of things. Okay, so it's very specific. At is very generical. On, in the between, sorry, very generical. In the between, on, and you are okay. Some situations are more used, so we need to practice, like days of the week, dates, celebrations. Okay, here in we use period of the day, the seasons in summer, winter, autumn. Okay, so this is very important to practice, to remember to use. Okay, Very good. I hope you enjoyed the class. Okay. The adverbs of frequency and the prepositions are very simple, but this is something you need to study and to practice to continue evoluting your English. Okay, guys. Peace, everybody. See you later. Thank you.